This is a continuation of my video, What is the Ego?, where I talk about the ego and the subconscious mind as being the source of thought when we're not present, which is about 95% of the time if we haven't done inner work, about 93% of the time if we have, which is a huge difference of how we experience life. It's hard to talk about the ego not talking about the subconscious mind in depth, but I felt that the ego video would be too long, so I'll make a separate one on the subconscious mind. Because it is as if we have three minds: the ego mind and the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is us. When we are living from the heart, it's our true selves. It's when we're present in the now. And the ego mind is the one sending out the thoughts. But the thoughts originate in the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is full of programs. Some people call them beliefs, belief systems, truths, conditionings. I call them programs. So these programs are imprinted in the subconscious mind from many places, which I will talk about soon. And when we are not present, the programs rise up and get filtered through the ego, which turn them into thoughts. And the ego is very creative in making these programs that are only a construct of the past. The ego is creative in making this seem as something new thoughts and new ideas, but it's old, and it's often keeping us being someone we're not, because these programs are affecting our personality a lot. The programs are the ones that affect what we think the world is and how it works and how we are. It affects our personality through what we think is good, bad, right, wrong, healthy, unhealthy, beautiful and ugly, and so on. It affects how we judge things. It affects how we act, and especially how we react when something just comes and we react maybe in a manner that we don't even like ourselves. I have a bit of an embarrassing example that I used to describe what can be imprinted in the subconscious mind, because most of these subconscious programs are imprinted in us in childhood. Because when we're kids, our brain waves are moving in a different state, which is the theta state. And we can use this state in meditation and deep and hypnosis as well. But when we're kids, this state is helping us to be conditioned, because we are supposed to learn how the world works and how to act as human beings. So I have this example from when I became a mother. I was an at-home mom for 7 years, so I had a lot of time with the kids, and I had a copper intoxication at that time for 2 years without knowing it. And a copper intoxication shows itself through, I felt like hysteria on the inside, but depression on the outside. And so I was not in balance. And sometimes, especially when I was stressed, I reacted to my kids' behaviors. So sometimes I got really angry. And when I did, I could hear my father's voice, my father's tone coming out of my mouth. This one. No, with that special little in the end. No. And I could observe myself, and oh my God, that is not me, that is my dad. So eventually I realized that I had been brought up to believe that this is how you raise children. If they do something wrong, often not intended, but it's wrong, maybe just spilling a glass of milk, they are supposed to be corrected with anger and do a little bit of management by fear. That is how you raise children. And luckily I observed this, and I really did my best to change it, and I succeeded often, and I failed a few times, and that was when I was in stress. And evaluating this afterwards, I realized that when my father was acting this way, it was when he was in stress, and he was living, he came out as gay about 40 years ago, when it wasn't that common, and he was threatened to death for this because it was so different, and he was living in a small town, so he was not in balance, and often in stress about work, being this man, this provider, living on his own and raising twins. That would be a challenge by itself. So I have so much understanding and empathy that this was the way it ended up for him being. This was his reactions. And I know this comes from my grandfather, who raised him this way. And I know that comes from my great-grandmother, and she could be a bitch, really hard and angry, and many people were scared of her. So I have been carrying a lot of anger, I have been processing a lot of anger, and healing generations back. So this is an example of what can get stuck in the subconscious mind. This is how you raise children. I know many parents can see their own parents when they're not in balance coming through as a reaction we don't like. So these programs, yes, they are imprinted in us. The soul chooses the parents before it steps down to this life, because it knows that these parents can give me these subconscious programs when I grow up, because these are the lessons I want to work with. These are the themes that I wasn't able to go through. I didn't really learn the lessons in my other lives. So I choose in this time of ascension, this lifetime of ascension, where we have the great opportunity to transform so much within us, so much that sometimes it's hard to handle. The soul chooses to bring this, to choose parents that can give us this, and sometimes the soul chooses to bring these lessons from other lifetimes straight away, so that the child is born with these subconscious programs. And it's not just through childhood, it's all of our previous life until this now moment. And how they get stuck is through images and emotions, because that is the language of the subconscious mind. That is how we are being imprinted, and that is also how we can speak to the subconscious mind, through visualization. When we see in our mind's eye, for example, how we want our life to be, the perfect life, or an event that we want to be happening. Then we are talking to the subconscious mind, because we are using the images to conjure up what we want, to be able to conjure the emotions to these images. So we are using the two languages of the subconscious mind, images and emotions. And this is also the way the subconscious mind is talking to us when we are not present. Because the most common negative subconscious program, and 70% of these programs are negative, because the brain is so hardwired to react to the negative as a survival mechanism. And the most common one, number one on the list, it is like the modern time disease. It is the one leading to stress and burnout. And maybe not burnout. I've met so many people in my coaching, they don't get burnt out, they get a stroke instead. Their minds might be so, the minds are, I don't want to use the word strong because I wouldn't regard it as strong, but the minds are so unaffected by the stress that the body is reacting instead, or a cardiac arrest, or itches, or headaches, or stomach aches, or whatever. The body can react in so many ways. If you don't get burnt out, often the body tells you in another way. The leading cause for this is the subconscious program that tells us that I am not enough. Could be anything. I am not a good enough mother, I am not a good enough colleague, I am not a good enough animal owner, I am not a good enough housekeeper, I am not a good enough whatever. If we have this subconscious program, and the subconscious is talking to us through, because it won't be a word-to-word thought that says you are not enough. It will be a subtle feeling that says that we could have done better, we could have been more. And these are being turned to thoughts by the ego about what we could have done better and how we could have done more. The Ascension is about transforming these negative beliefs, because the negative beliefs are the ones that are out of alignment with our true selves, with our soul. And the way to find if we have negative beliefs is to notice when something feels off. It feels uncomfortable in the body, it feels wrong in some way. That could be a negative program. It could also be a perspective you're holding that is not serving you. And this is a fine-tuning process to find, am I carrying a negative program that I am supposed to work with to get a better life and become a better human? Or should I just change my perspective? Or should I just remove myself from the situation? It's a fine-tuning process to find out which of the options to choose. But if you feel that something feels off, and you know that you're not supposed to do anything about the situation, and you're not supposed to change perspective, it just feels off. Like if you have had a very productive day, you have achieved this and this and this and this and this. Like when I was an at-home mom, I had cleaned the house, I had cooked very nutritious meals for my kids, I had taken them out in the woods, and we had managed the animals together because we were running a farm, we are running a farm, and we had also seen some friends to socialize. And still I could have this subtle sense that I could have done more, could have done better. That is when something feels off. And Bashar shares a really good tool to find out if this is a subconscious program or what kind of negative subconscious program we're carrying. And that is to ask the question, what do I have to believe is true about myself in this situation in order to feel this way? So in my example, I know I was carrying, and I know I am still carrying, a belief that I'm not enough. And also the second most common belief on this list, that is like the modern day disease, is that we're not worthy. So since my husband was out working, making all the money, I would not be worthy his money if I hadn't cleaned the house and managed the animals and taken the kids, socializing them and making them really nutritious meals and being a happy mom. And then when I learned this, I did during the years when my kids were young. I wish I did when they were younger. Then I can ask myself the question, what do I have to believe is true about myself in this situation in order to feel this way? Well, I believe I'm not enough. I believe I'm not worthy. And then when we see this, it's the same as with emotions and thoughts. Observe and accept. Observe and accept is the fastest way through thoughts, emotions, through life. Observe and accept. So when I see this, that I am carrying this program that I am not enough, I can observe it and I can see and I know it's not true. It's no fact. It's no truth. It's just a program. It's just something I happened to pick up along the way, growing up. And these programs, it doesn't have to be that obvious that someone tells you you're not enough, you should do more, you should do better. It can be as subtle as just a child observing its stressed mother and forming the belief that this is what it's like to be a mother. This is what it's like to be a woman. Or a child who is struggling to sit still in school, forming the belief that there must be something wrong with me because I cannot learn the way they are expecting me to. So that is why I say it can end up being a little bit of whatever in there. And most of these subconscious programs are not in alignment with our true selves. So we can live our lives believing we're someone we're not. We can live our lives through other people's programs that they have put on us unconsciously. So the programs come from our parents and they come from society. This is how we learn how the world works. And this belief how the world works, how it is, can be very different for different people. And this is why we can end up having heated conversations sometimes about what is good and bad, right and wrong. Because these programs are just interpretations. If 10 people is watching one situation, there will be 10 different stories from that situation. And since the programs are mostly imprinted in childhood, it's through a child's eyes that this is seen. And it depends so much on our personality type, on our current emotional state at the time, and it depends on what previous programs were imprinted in us before that. So we are regarding this situation through a lens of all of that. That is why it can end up being a little bit of whatever in there, that the ego turns into thoughts that also can end up being whatever. Because the ego is just a construct of our past. It is only using these programs in the subconscious mind to analyze the present and to try to predict the future. This is why we have such an advantage in knowing this. Knowing that the ego and the subconscious mind is the source of many thoughts that are not even true. And learning these tools to observe the ego, knowing that we are enough, reminding us, because the way to transcend these subconscious programs, to transform them, is to replace them. So if we have this program, I am not enough, we are to replace them with the opposite. I am enough. That to as often as possible remind ourselves, I am enough. I am enough. I am more than enough. I am so enough. All that I have already done and achieved is more than enough. And we might have to remind ourselves several times a day, and especially if we can catch ourselves in stress. That is the best reminder we can give ourselves. I am enough. Finishing this video, I'd like to mention a few things about the Ascension. I often talk about these Ascension energies coming to Earth. It is an area of space that the planet Earth is moving through and has done for years and will do for years. This ascension, going from one dimension to another, I don't think it will feel like, whoa, we've switched dimensions, this is a totally new life. I think it will feel like life. And this area is filled with light, photons, high vibrational frequency. And that is what is hitting Earth, and that is why it's so good to ground these strong energies. Because these energies are triggering our shadows, and many of our shadows is our subconscious programs. And that is why they are coming up so strongly at this time. That is why it seems as if there is drama in almost all people's lives. A few breaks now and then, and we can relax a bit, and then there's drama again. That is because the soul chose to do this lifetime. The soul felt that I am ready, challenge accepted. What was I thinking? So these programs are going to come up strongly and being turned into thoughts strongly. And in my video, What is the Ego? I said that many people's minds are getting really strong at this time. Maybe I should correct that to all people's minds is getting really strong at these times. So many thoughts, so much analyzing, so much judging, and a lot of judging about ourselves, that we're not enough, not good enough, not worthy, whatever. This is one of the most important reasons I make these videos. So we can go through the ascension a bit more smoothly together. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your inner work. It helps not only you, it helps the people around you because they feel it. It's contagious. Thank you.